So, Richard, can you talk us through what's really happening right now?
Well, this seems to be the flea market portion of the event. Outside seems more like the farmer's market. And of course, what they're actually inside is Aberdeen, the Aberdeen Pavilion. And Aberdeen Pavilion is named for Lord Aberdeen, who was a Governor General of Canada in the late 19th century. One of the most prominent Governors General as well, and a Scottish Governor General as well, so that great Scottish connection that we have in our history. And of course, the whole park, Lansdowne Park, is also named for Lord Lansdowne, who was a Governor General of Canada in the 1890s. So, this is a place very closely associated with the Crown and the Crown's representatives, and it's a very significant place now in Ottawa for gatherings that take place with the stadium nearby, as well as the Aberdeen Pavilion. So, the King will have an opportunity now to see all these people at this flea market in an indoor, a little bit less chaotic environment as it was outside. But let's face it, that whole thing ended with a quintessential Canadian moment, which is a puck drop.
Yeah.
Whether it's an indoor ice hockey game or outdoor street hockey, that cannot get much more Canadian. Again, really emphasizing the Canadian aspects of this tour.
Indeed. Richard, request you to stay with us. Let's once again take a few more moments, try and dip in, try and get some sound of the conversations that are playing out between the Prime Minister and King Charles III and Stephen Guilbeault. Well, this doesn't happen very often. We're seeing King Charles III in Ottawa, the Aberdeen Hall at Lansdowne Park, having conversation.
So these are the portions we prepared, 240,000 and where do you distribute the school? They distribute these. I'm sure they're very popular. And some so this is Christina, Your Majesty, from Ingenium, which is a consortium of
As I was saying a few moments ago, this is very rare to see a monarch here in Canada, and that to King Charles III in the Aberdeen Hall in Ottawa on this beautiful Monday morning in Ottawa, meeting with the vendors of this flea market that has been organized for King Charles III and the Queen. Their Majesties having conversations with local vendors. King Charles taking that keen interest in almost every single stop that he's had, having those conversations. This is the vendor for Canadian agriculture and food, as I can see on the T-shirts of some of those volunteers who are standing there this afternoon. Let's try and stay here for a bit, and then I'll go back to Richard for more.
Not only for clothing and textiles, but we know
Okay, well, we continue to cover this very momentous occasion of the King having conversations with several vendors inside the Aberdeen Hall. The last vendor, they were discussing textiles, fertilizers, the King asking some very intriguing questions to all of them. I want to bring in Richard back to this moment. And Richard, let's just talk about, the color, the flavors, and the diversity, and all of that Canada has to offer on full display for the King and the Queen. Richard.
Yes, I mean, it is a really interesting kind of amalgam of things that are on display here. And of course, the King loves also traditional crafts and traditional ways of doing things, be it buildings or architecture or different ways of building furniture and all of that kind of thing. So if any of these people are involved in that kind of work, then he will have really a lot to ask them about and to commiserate with them and to empathize with them. So, I think that to that extent, these kinds of things really provide an opportunity for him to show the depth of his knowledge of various issues, but also his empathy for people in the work that they're doing. So I think it's very interesting. Of course, you mentioned earlier that we have Stephen Guilbeault, who's the Minister of Canadian Heritage. Canadian Heritage is responsible for royal visits in Canada, his ministry. But he's also, as we know, a noted environmentalist, and I can promise you the King has probably run into him in his travels at various environmental conferences over the years. So they would also have something to talk about on that front if they had any time during this visit. But of course they don't, because they're looking at all of these things and interacting with the public.
Yep.
How can the main shape of the fuselage change your perception, right?
Now, it looks to me, Akshay, like the King is wearing his Order of Canada pin, which he wore when he saw the Prime Minister. In fact, he famously tried to give it to the Prime Minister, who had just broken his, and the Prime Minister very correctly said, no, I'm not the same rank as you in the Order of Canada. I can't take that. I believe the Queen, in fact, we haven't had a really good picture, but I believe she is, in fact, today wearing the diamond maple leaf brooch, which was given by George VI to Queen Elizabeth in 1939 prior to their first visit. So that's the King's grandparents. That was made by the Asprey Company, I believe, and it is, worn really only by the Queen or the Queen Consort in this country, or people who are going to be. So Camilla's worn it before, Princess of Wales, Catherine has worn it before, and of course Queen Elizabeth II and her mother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, also wore it. It's a very significant piece of jewelry in the royal collection, and it's of course got great significance to Canada. It is one of 5 brooches in the collection that have a direct link, either were made in this country or were made to symbolize this country. So again, these thoughts go into things when they're choosing what they're going to do and what they're going to wear. And of course, many Canadians will know about that brooch because it's been worn in this country for close to 100 years, and we'll be very glad to see it. I think it's being worn today by the Queen.
Very interesting indeed, the observations that, Richard, you're sharing with us this afternoon on why what is being worn and the significance of it all in relations with Canada and the history that the country has shared with the Crown. Also in very symbolic gestures of support to Canada, as we see the King and Queen, of course, indulge in these conversations and making this very, very important and historic visit to the country this afternoon. Also, what's very interesting is the fact, Richard, these conversations that King continues to have and the amount of interest that he is showing with every single stop. I'm fascinated with the kind of Q&A that he's having, and with ease with the people, something that he has really loved doing all his life when he's out there in these engagements in different parts of the world, whether it's the Commonwealth or whether within UK or now in Canada, a country that he's visited now, including this one, 20 times, 19 of course being as the Prince of Wales, and this time around as King Charles III. Let's try and get a little more of that, and I'll come back to you for more, Richard. Thank you.
The Ottawa Catholic School Board. For the Ottawa Catholic School Board, we've created the BU project. So I have some fellow consultants here with me, as well as 2 students from St. Patrick High School, who can explain the BU project.
So to start off, the BU project is an Austrian project, and it's about students who showcase their creativity and identity. Yeah, so we have actually made this game from scratch, which has allowed us to connect with our community and also with our personal identity. Probably about about a month, yeah.
Yeah.
So have you learned a lot?
Yes. I love making pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, and artworks. Yeah.